Fine.
Right.
Just to do it safe. So going into the and then when you finish that, then Rebecca will direct the congregation to meet on the inside, and we'll do meet on the inside. Should we do that in B9 as well, so we're in the same key?
Hag Sameach. Just, is there a little bit of...
Just that semitone make a difference for me.
Yeah, some people are asking Josie.
Oh, Southgate. Bit of piano? Yeah. Want to sound check some piano? Yeah. There's no mic.
But they're not in the congregation. Two past, don't say, Michael, we could count him. I cannot get into Zoom. That's weird. It's weird. I can't get in. Okay, Hag Sameach. I think with our modest crowd and Josie managing, I hope, to let people in. I saw a couple of people in, but I've been thrown out, so we'll see if we get back in. But there's something poignant and quiet and gentle about this last night of Pesach. So I welcome you, and we're really delighted that some of you have come from Southgate and will be coming tomorrow morning. And so it's really a lovely honor to ask you, Pearl, to light candles for us for the last night of Pesach tonight. We're on page 413. Let's stand. And welcome to all of you at home. No doubt you're doing similarly. Find your candles, find your spot of how you want to end Pesach together.
In the spirit of our ancient tradition, which unites and sanctifies the house of Israel in all lands and ages, we welcome the festival of the seventh day of Pesach by kindling these lights.
Well done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Yom Tov.
Amen. Chag Sameach, Bruchim Abayim. Welcome. We're on page 413. Thank you. 413.
Tonight we give thanks for the coming of spring and the deliverance of our ancestors from slavery. Both speak to us of hope. Winter does not last forever and oppression does not endure. As there is a force in nature that makes for renewal, so there is a power in history that makes for redemption. It is a power that comes from God and is latent within us, who are created in the divine image. May our celebration of this festival strengthen it. Let us always be among those who struggle for freedom. May we never cease to hope for the Pesach of the future, when all that is good shall prevail, and may we never cease to labor for the coming of that day. The rains are over and gone, the flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come, and the voice of the dove is heard in our land. Am I on the wrong page? No. Okay, good. Vayomer Moshe el ha'am, and Moses said to the people, Zachor et yom hazeh, remember this day, asher yetzatem mi Mitzrayim, when you came out from Egypt, mi beit avadim, from the house of bondage, ki b'chozek yad, with a mighty hand, hotzi Adonai echem mizeh, Adonai brought you out from there. Today is the month of Aviv, we are going free, when the Eternal One brings you into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which God promised your ancestors to give you. You shall keep this observance in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread.
On the seventh day you shall celebrate a festival in honor of the Eternal One.
You should tell your child on that day,
I do this because of what God did for me when I came out of Egypt.
let it be a sign on your hand and a reminder before your eyes.
That God's teaching may be on your lips.
With a mighty hand God brought you out of Egypt.
You shall therefore keep this ordinance at this appointed time from year to year.
Page 425. Psalm 67. God be gracious to us and bless us,
And let your face shine upon us.
that your way may be known upon earth.
Your salvation among all nations.
Let the peoples praise you, O God.
Let all the peoples praise you.
Let the nations shout for joy, for you rule the world with justice.
And guide the nations of the earth.
Let the peoples praise you, O God.
Let all the peoples praise you.
The earth has brought forth its harvest.
God, our God, has blessed us.
God has blessed us.
Let all the ends of the earth give praise.
To the call to prayer, the Baruch Hu on page 427.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Ha'orav. Baruch Adonai Ha'orav le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhma poteach sha'arim, ובתבונה משנה עיתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, מסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, כולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. We praise your God, whose word makes evening fall.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amet ha'ata,
Praise your God, you love your people Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך. וכשאתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לא תותפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי.
הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
This we hold to be true and sure. You alone, eternal and our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule, then full of joy we sang together. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב ולא מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu v'al kol yeshvei tevel. We praise your God. May your sheltering peace descend on us and all who dwell on earth.
Stand.
Adonai sefatai tiftach uvi agitei latecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach uvi agitei latecha.
So as an intention, a kavanah, a reflection, just as we go into the tefillah, this tefillah as we finish Pesach, the invitation to really bring that notion of liberation, of redemption, of coming from a narrow place into our own lives. The motif of Passover, of coming from a narrow place, min hametzah, from Egypt, is the one that accompanies us throughout the year, this sense of being aware of our own vulnerability that leads us to empathy towards others. But here on this Erev service, this quiet time for us is to think about how we have all, each of us personally, navigated ourselves out of narrow spaces. So we're on page 431. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Hasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Hastei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטב.
מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, צומק נופלים פרופר חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה לך? מלך ממית ומחיה ומצליח ישוע.
ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה המתים. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Together, you've given us a special task among the peoples. In your love and favor, you've sanctified us by your commandments, drawn us near to your service, charged us to make known your great and holy name. In your love, eternal one, our God, you have given us feasts of joy and seasons of gladness, among them this festival of unleavened bread, season of our freedom, to unite us in worship and in remembrance of the exodus from Egypt. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu, ya'aleh v'yavo v'yizacher zichronenu, v'zichron kol amcha beit Yisrael lefanecha, l'tova v'livracha, l'chaim u'l'shalom, b'yom chag hamatzot hazeh. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova. Bless us with your presence.
Amen.
Ufokdenu vo livracha. Bless us with your presence.
Amen.
V'hoshienu vo l'chaim. Grant us continued life.
Amen.
Grant, eternal God, that our observance of the festivals may bring us blessing, happiness, and joy. Sanctify us by your commandments. Make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness. Gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. and grant, eternal God, that the happiness of the festivals may be with us always. Baruch atah Adonai Makadesh Yisrael Bahasmanim. Otzei Adonai Eloheinu b'yamcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam b'yahavat tekabel, u'tehilu ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadacha b'yera na'avot. Together in English, we give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God. As you were the God of our ancestors, you are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives, which are in your hand, for our souls, which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. Adonai Oseh Hashalom. Let's take a moment for silent prayer or reflection.
Ose shalom bimramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol bnei Adam.
We're going to turn to Hallel to have a tiny taste, the equivalent of Chetzi of half Hallel, page 468. So let's offer the blessing for Hallel together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et ha'Hallel. So just from Psalm 114 for Pesach.
Tzeit Yisrael mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov meyam lez. Tzeit Yisrael Yaakov me'yam lo'ez hayta Yehuda lekosho Yisrael mamshelotav hayam rav hayanos hayaden yisov le'akol Beit Yisrael mitzrayim Beit Yaakov me'yam lo'ez Beit Yisrael mitzrayim Beit Yaakov me'yam lo'ez Heharim Rakadu Chelim
Just this verse from 118, Min hametzah karatia anani v'merchavia. In my distress, my narrow place, I cried out to God, who answered me in wide expansiveness. Adonai li lo ira, ma ya'aseh li adam. God is with me, I am not afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?
Min hamitzah karatia, karatia. Min hamitzah karatia, karatia. Min hamitzah anani v'amecha, anani v'amecha.
This is a tiring period to be a Jew. Pesach, first night service, Second night, so move the camera. Second night, say there. Can you hear me now? Great. Thank you. Thank you. But we're in Finchley, so we have to behave properly. First night, say there, followed by first day Pesach service, second night say there, Shabbat in between, and we're back in shul here again. And in between, we have to make sure that our grandchildren don't steal the cereals and all the biscuits and cakes are kosher Pesach. But for we rabbis, it's even busier, or it feels busier, because we feel, along with our professional musicians and others, that we have to do something that maintains your morale and brings the crowds flocking in from Southgate and Finchley in such numbers that the Exodus couldn't have happened in 3 days because of the numbers that are here. And for us rabbis, of course, it starts on Shabbat Hagadol, because that's the Shabbat before Pesach, when we rabbis have the occasional duty to deliver a sermon. And it's supposed to be a paka formal sermon, reminding you of every rule there could possibly about chametz and what happens if the weasel comes emerging from your house with a biscuit between its teeth, and all the other rules of Pesach which you're supposed to keep. So we rabbis perhaps are a little joyous, but jaded. And so we've agreed that instead of, or at least I think we've agreed, instead of having formal sermons, we'll each give you a little something new that we've learnt over the period. And for me, it was prompted by looking up the root, well, not looking up, but coming across a commentary on the root Pesach, or Pasach. But it started a bit before then, because what is this? Bread of affliction, or matzah, yeah, or bread of affliction, or bread of freedom. So we start with the matzah, which is in itself a conundrum for all sorts of reasons. Are you afflicted by this piece of bread, or 7 days of matzah, or are you liberated? And why can I have this, but not a nice digestive biscuit? Why can I eat this one thing made of matzah, made of wheat and leaven, but not all the other things that I like? And the matzah is on the one hand known also as the bread of poverty, because it's pretty simple. But on the other hand, don't we from time to time need to delight in simplicity? Don't we need to learn sometimes, not that we should live by bread alone, but perhaps we don't need to live by all the things that we acquire in our lives. And similarly, when I looked up the root Pasach, what does the root Pasach mean? What does it mean? It's a question to the audience, to the congregation. What does the root Pasach mean? Well, sometimes people say it means passing over, don't they? As though, it's not an accurate rendition, but nevertheless, that somehow we talk about Pesach because we remember that the angel of death passed over the Israelite homes. But we also think about a better meaning of Pesach, which is thinking about the poor lambs that end up on the altar. Oh, they're skipping. They're skipping with joy. So on the one hand, we see the great, rather like poverty and affliction, we see death. But on the other hand, we see liberty and skipping lambs. But actually, not actually, but one of the meanings of Pesach, which I have to say I had not discovered until this year, Pesach. So all the years I've been reading about this root, Pesach, I had not discovered this meaning of it. It can mean to straddle. I'll give you the reference because you won't believe it. But if you look in 1 Kings 18 to 21, the root there is used and it means to straddle a hedge. And if you think about straddling something, it's neither nish nor nisht, if that's the right term. It's neither this nor that. It's neither poverty nor liberation. It's neither plain and poor or plain and simple. But straddling something sticks you in the middle. And when did liberation happen? When did liberation begin, I should say? Yeah, I mean, at what time of the day did it begin?
Nighttime.
Well, did it? What happened at night time? Yes. We read, of course, in Exodus, is Leil Shimurim, the evening of watching. So does the liberation begin when we know it's about to happen? Or does it begin, so it begins in the daytime as the day is closing? Or does it begin the following morning as the day is opening? Or does it take place in that little space called Erev? Erev meaning evening, or meaning the mixing of the day that has just finished and the night that is to come. And if we think about the root Erev, what else do we know about to do with it? Two things we know about in Exodus to do with use the same root. They sound the same. And Erev Rav on the one hand, and the other one is one of the plagues. Arov, locusts. Now we know that locusts are the most devastating creature that arrives in your land. But we also know that the Erev Rav was not only a Jewish opportunity, but an opportunity for lots of other people too. And so my chidush for Pesach this year is this, that when faced with a moment, when faced with a situation, we know in our heart of hearts that most decisions are not simply black or white, A or B, poverty or freedom, locusts or freedom for others. Most decisions we make in our lives are much more complex and much more complicated and much more grey. And if you want a bit of liberation, you may have to a bit of poverty first. And we could go on in that metaphor. And I think as I continue not to have any social media, but learn the results of social media from what I hear people say, I realize how much more important it has become to not present choices that we have to make as simple, as black and white, but rather as much more complicated. And Pesach is that story par excellence, because our liberation only took place at the expense of others. And every decision that we make, even if it's a good one by historical standards, may have implications for others. So my little Pesach chidush is this matzah is both simple but so much more complicated.
We're going to finish with Aleinu before we go into Kaddish together. So I'm going to ask you to stand. We're on page 520. So we turn now to Kaddish, and I invite us to name either in our hearts or aloud those who we are particularly thinking of at the end of this festival of Pesach. It would be impossible for us not to think of the D family, the British Jewish family who lost 3 members of their family in an attack in Israel, 2 daughters, Lucy and Maya, and their mother. So I name them, but perhaps there are others that you are thinking about too. In my family, this is our first Pesach since the death of my grandmother, the first time sitting around the Seder table. So let's bring those names into our hearts, or indeed into the sanctuary together before we offer Kaddish. Yeah. I think of Morris Needleman tonight, who would have been at our communal Seder. May those we recall, remember and honor, may their memories be for a blessing. Zichronam levracha. May we comfort each other as we offer the words of Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad tivrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'hayachon v'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, magala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omer maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ah v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitzada v'yitaleh v'talav shemei dekudusha brichu leila min kol bechata v'shurata tushbachata v'nechemata da'aniram b'yamav v'imru amen. Yehi Shalom Rabba Min Shamaya, V'hayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Ose Shalom B'mromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'al Kol B'nei Adam, V'imru Amen. Let's sit down as we finish with Don Olam. Remind us who wrote this music.
Flori Jagoda. It's a Sephardi tune. Adon Olam Hashem Alav B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Et Nasa V'chetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Acharei Kiklot HaKol Vado Yimlok Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Adon Olam Hashem Alav B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni L'ham Shelo L'Hakbira V'li Reshit V'li Tachlit V'lo Ha'oz V'ha'Misra Adon Olam Hashem Alav B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra V'chetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'hu Eli V'chai Bo'ali V'tzochev Li V'etz Hara V'hu Nisi U'manos Li Menat Kosi V'yom Ekra Adon Olam Hashem Alav B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra V'chetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yado Akid Ruchi V'etishan V'ayira V'imruchi V'viati Adonai Li V'lo Ira Adon Olam Hashem Alav B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Et Nasa V'chetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra.
So let's stand for Kiddush. And a final blessing for us all as we prepare to leave Pesach. And tomorrow I'll be talking about endings and why they are so important for us. Adonai Yishmor Tzedcha Uvoecha Me'ata V'ad Olam. May the Eternal One guard your going out and your coming in, now and always.
Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei b'riah gafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'am v'kiravanu לעבודתו וקידשנו במצוותיו ותיתן לנו נעלן באהבה מועדים לשמחה חגים וזמן לששון את יום חג המצות הזה זמן חירותנו למקרד הקודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קירבת לעבודתך ומועדי קודשך בשמחה ובששון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש ישראל בהזמנים. חג שמח.
Should we do matzah here? Our penultimate kiddush over matzah. Is there some matzah out? We realized to our horror at Finchley Progressive that we finished our cinnamon balls. So if we have no cinnamon balls or coconut pyramids to share with you tonight.
But tomorrow you'll get some.
Great.
Or something.
Great. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. How appetizing can you get? Actually, I tasted Paul's. I thought they were okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.